And thoughts are those things that we say to ourselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. Those are some very common ones. I don't have the skill. I don't have the ability. I just can't understand it. I'm stupid. Whatever those thoughts are that you're saying to yourself, write those down.
Hey guys, Dave Loschelt here, Dad by Judo. Hey, back on the podcast. Hey, I got Adam back on the podcast. Adam, what's up, man? What's going on?
What's happening, Dave?
Hey, man.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I know you are. Hey, listen, we end up talking about the Mindcoach System last time. If you haven't checked that podcast out, check it out. It's on the playlist. Oh yeah, and they haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, click the notification button, comment below, and do all the YouTube stuff. Hey, I really want to get into this, man, because part of the Mindcoach System stuff, we talk about the mindset. I really didn't get to that last time. So, and I kind of have a beef with it. I have a kind of an issue with with mindset and sports and sports psychology. And can you guess what it is? Can you guess what my beef is?
That they don't teach it.
Pretty good guess. Exactly right. The one thing that I didn't get when I was training was I'd never had anybody that either had that experience or had that expertise. And I was always yearning for that whole thing, because they say like, oh, 90% of winning's like mental. Well, it's funny, isn't it? They don't, okay, if that's true, then where's the training on that? Like, yeah. I've never seen it. Like, I'm sorry. I know they have sports psychologists and I know all that stuff, but typically that's for like college athletes that are pretty high level. Usually, I will have to imagine, professionals.
Yeah, Olympians.
But then you're talking like the elite, and they're working with like professionals that can do that. And so I don't think it's part of a curriculum, and I think it lacks in like everywhere. That people think they do it, but they really don't have a system, and they don't have the training to do it.
Let me do a quick example on why it works. Have you ever been, I'm asking everyone that's listening right now, have you ever been to a scary movie? And you're sitting there and the scary music's playing and the scene is kind of creepy, and you start getting this like crawling feeling in your body, and something jumps out at you and you jump out of your chair. Now, did that actually happen to you, or did they kind of pump that into your physiology? Because if you put on earplugs and you put on a blindfold, you wouldn't react that way. So something completely invisible to you in a way created a response in your body. You can do that same thing with visualization and other modalities as well, to elicit responses, elicit reactions, elicit different mental components and different strategies on how to handle situations. So in our day-to-day life, we don't realize how many of those things really exist that are actually programming us, or what there's a term, priming us, to have these physiological responses. Now, if we just let the world around us do that whenever it so chooses, we're not going to have any control. So the whole idea of mindset is actually taking control of that, and especially in sports and martial arts, is how do you direct that? How can you program yourself with those things so that you react differently, and you've already experienced a particular situation before it's even happened, right?
Well, that's confidence. That's how you build confidence and self-assurance and self-esteem type of stuff, right? Where
Yeah,
you're living, but we're talking about, living at a peak potential where, how do you get the most out of yourself? What's bugging you up in your mind that's not letting you get to a certain point? Typically what happens is, people, they have barriers, they have self-doubt. Doubt and fear kill everything.
mhm,
I can't do this. I'm not able to. I would never be able to do that. Oh, that'll never happen to me. And and even if you set a goal, like I want to win a national championship, or I want to go to the Olympics, or I want to go to the World Championships, or I want to win the local tournament, or whatever, or just win a match, in your club or whatever, or just perform well, oftentimes that comes down to number one, a lot of physical training, obviously, day in and day out when you go to practice. But then it comes down to you may be able to do something, but your
right,
mind may stop you. So it's really comes down to that. And
yeah,
that's the issue, right? Because then you have this person who you can see super talented, very able, very excellent condition, good shape, can execute the techniques well,
mhm.
all that stuff. But then what happened? Why aren't they doing that? Why they fall apart, halfway in practice or in the match or in a tournament or whatever? Hey guys, I got a new coaching system that I developed. It's called the Mindcoach System. It's a 7-step process to help you reach your peak potential. We talk about dreams, we talk about goals, we talk about strategy, we talk about execution, mindset, and then reaching your peak potential. By using all of those, we can get you there, and we can develop a plan for you to be able to find your goals and to reach those and reach your peak potential. So click the link below, check it out, contact me, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. There is a lot of distraction and a lot of showmanship that we use to elicit reactions in the other player. And same thing in judo, where you can make a particular movement to try to get a reaction out of the other person. Right now, if they're not prepared for that, and they don't have the mindset in place, and they haven't been through the reps of experiencing that over and over and numbed themselves to those reactions, they're going to react and put themselves in an inferior position to you. If you haven't been training and you don't have the mindset and able to be somewhat unfazed in those situations, you're going to react in the wrong direction. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to get pinned or whatever the situation is. I mean, you can even play this out in life. If you don't have the mental fortitude, it's going to take you out. It's going to cause depression, a sense of loss, a sense of worthlessness. And, like you were saying, the confidence comes from having those small wins. It doesn't need to be a national championship. It doesn't need to be winning a tournament. Even just showing up for the day and congratulating you on the back is one more win to help you build that confidence up. Now, that doesn't really play into the mindset piece. The mindset piece is reliving it, putting yourselves in those situations, having those uncomfortable sessions, and getting those calluses built up so that nothing really phases you and you can continue to push through.
You have a person who's developing, and they're training, and they're trying their best, and they just can't seem to break through. Like, they can do it. Things take time. Physical training obviously takes time. Mental training takes time. Injuries take time to heal. Things like that, right? Anything takes time. But you can. But the problem is, I think with most coaches, is the fact that they don't have the tools to be able to take. So we say mental training. It's like, okay, well, I could say a loaf of bread. It's the same thing. It doesn't mean anything. Like, what about mental training? What are the elements that are there that someone can use that they don't need to be a therapist. They just need to
Yeah.
have the basic structure. Because in the mind coach system, our system, we have, we have the beta cycle, right? And that's a cycle that is, you know, you psychologically, scientifically proven that you can utilize in a very pragmatic way. And so you don't have to be a PhD in psychology to use this stuff. It just, you have to know the elements and be able to manipulate them for yourself. And then you can teach them to somebody else, which we do in our coaching program as well. So,
Yeah.
that's the kind of what I'm talking about. Like, how do you get that? You have the recipe of baking a cake, and like, use that example a lot, but you have your flour and your eggs and the yeast and everything else. But you
Yeah.
got to put those things, you have to have all the ingredients, but you have to have them in the right measure and the right order. Order and sequence is important.
Right.
So, how do so I think by teaching that, by talking about that with with the people that are listening, I think it'd be super valuable.
One of the hardest components, like we were talking about on the last session, is people do not understand psychology. Most people have not gone through a class. Most people have not read a book. They have no idea how the mind works. And our brain basically convinces us of our reality. And if we don't diagnose and dissect what our brain is telling us, then we are going to be in this world that we're just going to believe that it is the way it is and we can't change it. So how do we dissect our thoughts? And it comes down into 4 pieces. And this is something you guys can write down, something you can do if you're coming up to a roadblock. And the acronym is BETA, BETA. And the first B stands for beliefs. And that is, what do you believe to be true? What do you, at your core, believe to be true about the situation, about the roadblock you're facing, about where you're at in your training? What do you believe to be true as it relates to the problem you're trying to solve? Number 2 is emotions. So we have B and E. E is emotions. So how does that make you feel? When you're thinking about your physiology, does it make your chest tight? Does it make your mouth clench? Do you clench your fists? Do you slump over? Do you, what are the feelings associated with it? And it's not just, I feel sad or depressed or angry or whatever. It's actually an emotion is felt physiologically in the body. So typically when there's anger, there's other changes happening to our heart rate and things inside our chemical components inside our body that are eliciting that emotion. So we want to describe that as best as we can. Number 3 is T, which is thoughts. And thoughts are those things that we say to ourselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. Those are some very common ones. I don't have the skill. I don't have the ability. I just can't understand it. I'm stupid. Whatever those thoughts are that you're saying to yourself, write those down. And lastly, we have A, which stands for actions. So actions are, how is that manifesting externally? If you're anxious about, getting your belt, and therefore you're like not going to class, or you're not showing up, or you're standing in the corner, what are the things externally and the behaviors that you're doing externally, either with your body or with your actions that, other people call them behaviors that you're doing that are externally facing, and describe those things. So that's the first step. The first step is dissecting your brain. What is it doing? What is it thinking? How are you feeling? and putting that down on paper. We call it the beta cycle. And the reason we call it beta is it stands for beta waves, as brain waves that are in your beta state, meaning that you're conscious, you're aware of, you're in a state of awareness. That's step number one, Dave. I would say is really putting your thoughts on paper and getting it out of your head and onto a sheet where you can look at it and say, huh, that's what I'm thinking right now. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, I love that, because like, well, every time we do this with someone, there's a phrase, and I've said this before on the podcast and other lectures. A fish doesn't know he's swimming in water.
Yep.
You really have to get it out of your head, put it on paper so you can see the fishbowl from the outside. And I think that's kind of the analogy, right?
Yeah,
So then
100%.
you can put down your beliefs and and what you feel and what you're thinking, and then the actions you're doing, then you can actually evaluate that. But then again, then you can know, like, okay, this is what's bugging me up. This is what's kind of this is why my present state is the way it is. It gives you kind of a landscape of that, which is kind of cool. So here's the question to you. I got, I'm kind of like, I'm at practice. I don't have any confidence. I say to myself, listen, first of all, I can't believe that I can do the technique. I don't have any confidence. I feel that, I feel bad about myself. I'm thinking to myself, when I'm never going to get this. And the action I'm taking is kind of either haphazard, or it just isn't anything that's productive to even attempt it. Maybe I'm not even attempting it because I don't believe I can do it. So the question would be, how do I change that? How can I get around the other side where I can actually start believing I can do this and change things around so I can actually change my behavior?
But that's a perfect example. And we start by flipping it on its head and talking about and writing down the opposite. So let's go through your example, right? So let's go through the beta cycle that you were just describing. So
Okay,
B, believe.
Well,
What do you believe to be true?
well, let's start with my actions.
Okay. Yes.
Because because the one thing that we found successful is, you can see the behavior, right? So you can't see the belief, you can't see the thought. I mean, you can kind of see some of the emotion in terms of affect, but you're really not sure what they're feeling, right? Sometimes, but you can actually see me standing there dumbfounded on the mat, trying to figure out, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's Dave doing? He's not even trying.
Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe I'm trying it, but it's like, you could tell I'm not confident. I'm just not actually trying.
And that's your action at the
That's my
moment.
action, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So as a coach, what do? You see me kind of struggling there. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, and you hit on it, is actions are the easiest thing to change out of the four. They actually go back in order of easiest to hardest to change. So the easiest thing to change is your action. What can you do? You don't have to believe anything to be true. You don't have to say different things in your head. You don't have to have a different emotion. You just have to do a different action in the moment. That could be as simple as putting your shoulders back, putting your chin up, stepping into the exercise. Or if you're a coach and you're seeing someone do this, knowing that they're lacking and that they're needing to get out of that habit, pulling them over for training, getting them involved into something to build their confidence back up, starting small, starting with one piece of the movement so that they can start having those small wins, which will start convincing their psyche that they are good enough, smart enough to do this thing.
Yeah. So like maybe, you get me to just do the turning motion, not the whole thing, because there's too much there. So the pulling and turning, and if I'm doing like a Sianagi, for example, and I got to step and turn and lift and bend my knees, and the whole thing is overwhelming. Maybe I just do the turn. and just go, okay, let's get the turn down first where that's comfortable. Okay, then we can add the hands, so we can add your knees and et cetera, right? So like you're saying, like build on that, and then I'll feel as now physically I'm doing it, I'm feeling more confident.
Right.
Now, once I'm doing that, once you're training me on that, then what?
So I'll give you an example in SIlat that I do. We have a Juru that has 99 movements.
Mm.
Well,
What's it for the audience and me?
it's a connection of movements together.
Kata.
Yeah, so a kata, yeah, same thing as a kata
Okay.
in our art. So there's 99 of them in a row. And when I heard this, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to learn all of those,
Mm-hmm.
right? But how did we learn them? One at a time.
Mm-hmm.
We did one, then we did 1, 2. Then we did 1, 2, 3. Then we did 1, 2, 3, 4. And got up to 10, took a break. 11, 11, 12, 11, 12, 13. And we did it, we broke it down, and pretty soon you memorize this whole thing and your confidence shoots through the roof. Right? Same idea. But
okay, so what I would do is I would just like the throw example, because there's several moves there, and what do you call that, the juru?
Guru, yeah,
Juru?
Guru. But same idea as a kata. I'm sure
Same.
they,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of the same way, and so by doing the beta, because it's BETA, we would start with the A, which is the action, there's linking moves, but then we would go to your thoughts. Like, what do you, because
yeah,
you just said, like, I'll never learn all this. Well, you don't have to learn all 99 tonight. It may take 6 months. So we're going to learn 2 tonight. So you're going to say to yourself, look, I can learn 2.
yeah,
Can you learn 2? Yeah, I can learn 2. I can learn 1. I can learn 2, maybe 3. Okay, we'll start with 3 then, just tonight. And then giving you the mindset of, calm down. It's okay. We'll put 3 together tonight, and then we'll build on it later.
yeah. And that sets the foundation for you being able to believe that you can do it.
Yeah,
Just by getting a thought that is realistic for you, that you can get behind and be like, you know what, that I can do that. Maybe
but
not the whole thing right now, but I can do that.
yeah, so you got 3 moves. Then the thought as a coach, I would say, look, we're only gonna do 3 moves. You could do 3, right? And then you say, yeah, I could do 3. How do you feel about that? Well, I feel pretty good. Now your emotion. Now I got you feeling good with the emotion. If I say let's do 10, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
My anxiety kind of, okay, cool it. We'll do 3. You said you can do 3. How do you feel about that? So now it's action, your thoughts. Hey, I can do 3. How do you feel about that? Oh, I could feel pretty good about that. Okay, great. We're good. Do you
yeah,
believe now? Could you believe you could do 3 in a row? Well, absolutely, I can. I believe it.
yeah.
Right? How do you know that? Because I've done 3 moves. I've done 5 moves before, so I know I
Yeah.
can do 3.
Now, for a coach, this is where it gets very tricky, because I know for me, I have a very I'm very detail focused. I want, especially in a martial art, like I want to try to do it as perfect as I can the first time, and I get upset with myself when I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And as a coach, a lot of coaches make the mistake of coming in and right out of the gate nitpicking movements and showing them that their foot's wrong and their hands wrong and their grip's wrong or whatever it is. And you're taking away from their confidence by doing that. Give them space to make mistakes, and then you can tighten up over time, get their confidence up. So if they need to feel good instead of depressed or sad. So if you say, hey, we just did those 3 movements, and in your head, they were all over the place and they didn't do it right. They were stepping in the wrong direction. They were moving in the wrong place. Don't say anything yet. Hey, good job. We got through those 3 movements. We're going to tighten them up, but they look really good right now. And we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
So over time, you can adjust. You can make those micro adjustments. But if you're constantly nitpicking on their technique, they're gonna go right back into that same cycle of not feeling good enough. So it's giving them that freedom inside a framework. If there's something way off, sure, you gotta correct it. But as we know, like even in past black belts, like we're constantly tweaking our techniques. So you can always get better at a grab. You can always get better at a throw. You can always get better at a kick or a punch, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So the glass is always half empty, right? So we just have to build that confidence as a coach. We have to allow them that space and not be too hard on them, and allow them to have that positive reinforcement from us so that they have the ability to move on.
And that's the E in beta. That's the emotion. Yeah, we similar in judo. There's a way to teach it, and other martial arts, I'm sure too. It's called the whole part whole approach, where it's you teach the whole thing in a general gist, and
Mhm.
then you break it down, like you said. You pick it apart and you look at the parts of it, and then you do the whole again, whole part whole. It gives you
Yeah,
kind of a frame to do it. That's one way you can frame it. There's other ways of training, obviously, depending on how you do it, but that's similar to what you said, I think. But I think that
yeah,
the idea, the focus here is, the psychology of how people learn and how they're feeling and how they're performing. Because how you feel is how you're going to perform. And so if you're looking at the beta, which is, people's beliefs, their emotions, and their mood, their affect, and then their thoughts, what they say, because that self-talk's important. And then
yeah,
the actions and how they behave is really kind of the idea. So like if you see the behavior, you don't want to assume. You can actually take the beta cycle backwards and say, okay, I see this, or even yourself, right? It's like, I'm not really doing this really that great. Well, then what are you saying to yourself? You're saying, well, I'm not doing this that great. I don't really feel like this. I don't really feel like it, or I don't think I can do it. I'm not worthy, that type of stuff, which causes a negative emotion. And then you believe it. Say, well, yeah, I'll never get this. So I'm a big loser. I'll never be able to do this ever again my whole life. It's like, well, where'd that come from? Well, it came from your beta, your beta waves, your belief system, the way you're thinking. So by changing your physiology, by taking beta backwards and starting with the action, like we're saying, you can change that. And then you kind of, you change your thoughts, change your emotions, and change your beliefs. Now you have a whole different person you're working with. Because now they have self-confidence, they believe it themselves, they're able to do it. And they know they have time, because you're going to give them time to improve it and get better. All that stuff's important, right? Because it's like, you don't have to do it tonight. You don't have to do it ever, but you can certainly work on it, because it's a lifelong type of process. And
right.
I mean, I've been doing the same throw since I was 9 years old, and I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still watching video. I'm like, wait a second, I never learned that.
Mhm.
40 years later, it's like, whoa, that's a revelation. It's amazing what you still can
Yeah,
learn. It's the
yeah,
same technique. So you're always evolving. And there's variations out the wazoo and everything else. So I think that's important. But I think the mindset is what we're talking about. How do you bring someone to a peak performance state? And I think by utilizing this part of our system, the Mindcoach system, which is the beta cycle, which is a mindset, mind coach type of technique, I think it's a really powerful thing. And it's simple and it's easy to use, and you just have to practice it to be able to help yourself as well as other students and other people. And like you said, even in business, it works everywhere.
yeah. But actually, I don't have the statistic and research in front of me, but there is a significant improvement in mental health just by being able to um, get our thoughts on paper. Just by the act, we don't even have to do anything with it, but just the act of taking our mindset and journaling and putting it out on paper is an instant improvement in overall mental health. So
Mm-hmm.
this skill is not, it, again, is something that has a meaningful difference in your day-to-day life can make a meaningful difference in your day-to-day life, whether that's in sports, whether that's at home, whether that's in business. Most people don't do it. I know for me, part of the impetus of doing this program and this book was, I was going through a really, really tough time in my life that I woke up every morning just with this weird feeling going on, and I couldn't pinpoint it. I didn't know about the beta side. I didn't know how to get what I was thinking on paper. I didn't have that psychology background, and it just day in and day out, I woke up with the same feeling, and I got sick of it and started reading a bunch of books on it and understanding it, and finally could get it out on paper. Like, huh, that's what I was thinking. But because I couldn't get it out of my head, it stayed there
Mhm.
months, like months. It was actually even up to a year and a half in that state until I could get it out and be like, actually work with it.
Yeah.
So a lot of us go through life and throughout the day, and we have no idea what we're thinking or feeling or any of that stuff.
Yeah, a
But
fish doesn't know he's swimming in water.
100%.
It's so
What we were
true.
saying.
So, hey, we did talk about the coaching program in the last podcast, but I do want to talk about that again because I think it's so important. We have a coaching program, a certification program. If you want to learn this system, it's the Mindcoach System. You can actually learn it, get certified, and be able to utilize it in your dojo, in your school or whatever. And it's a very good program to have. You get a certificate, and it's 8 weeks. You can go through it. You can get trained by us. It's via Zoom, and we can give you all the information and more on how to implement this program from A to Z, all 7 steps with some extra stuff as well. And it's a very good program. Adam, anything else about this certification program we should brag about?
Yeah, I would say, only reach out if you're serious about taking control and planning your life. If you're serious about planning your life and getting intentional about where you want to point the needle and point your ship, then reach out, because we can help you achieve some pretty remarkable things and get that on paper for you and help develop a plan, and helping you to help others do that as well. But this isn't for the faint of heart. You got to be intentional about it. You got to want something. You got to be a little bit more driven. So this is not for, if you're looking at, you're like, oh, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. This isn't the program for you. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're an achiever and if you want to really push the limits of what you're doing with your life, with your business, with your coaching, I think you should definitely check us out. We should hop on a discovery call, see what you're looking to do, and if it's the right fit for you. We're not the right fit for everybody, but it's a great program. We've seen lots of success, lots of good testimonials of people that have loved it, lived it, and accomplished with it. So that's it. I think it's a fantastic program.
It's mindcoachsystem.com. I'll put the link in the description section of this video, and you can check it out and see. But yeah, man, it's always great to jump on and talk shop with you with the Mind Coach stuff. If you're interested also in the Mind Coach System, the book, we have an audio book as well. You could probably see I was drinking out of my Mind Coach cup. Let me get that. I got it. Okay. We got the Mind Coach merch as well. But yeah, it's cool. So thanks, man. Yes. Anything else? Any
Like, subscribe, Dad Bod Judo. It's a great channel. Dave is world class in all aspects of life, and especially teaching, and really cares about you guys, your listeners. He doesn't do this to retire. He does this because he cares. So eat it up and use
I
them.
Well, I tell you, I tell my butler that every time, I was like, listen, I don't do this for everybody, you know? All right. Like Adam said, yeah, subscribe, click the notification bell, comment below, and we will see you on the next podcast. Thanks, Adam.